Chapter 12 Evidence. There was a quiet ping on the teacher's internal comm. From the headmaster. He barely paused in his lecture as he answered. Yes. Would you send Soundwave to my office? Oh, dear. I wonder what this is about. All right. All right. Thank you. Of course. The teacher stopped. Soundwave, would you please go to the headmaster's office? He'd like to speak with you. The room suddenly filled with silent questions about why I was being sent there and what I had done. I got up and walked to the door. This was almost certainly about what had happened last off-cycle on the roof. I slipped out into the hallway. My range was back to normal now, though I still had a processor ache and I was exhausted. As I approached the headmaster's office, my anxiety grew. The bullies were also there, and Ochre. The door opened for me and I entered the large office. Ratchet was here too, though Searchlight wasn't. He was probably still recharging. Welcome, the headmaster said. I hear you were involved in what happened last off-cycle. If you tell him anything, you'll be sorry, Verdict thought. I nodded because the headmaster was waiting for a response. So, the headmaster said, would you mind relating the events in your own words? I picked up that Ratchet had already told his side of the story. But they wanted a second witness to confirm it. What makes you so sure he'll tell the truth, sir? Verdict said. Doesn't he cheat on tests and things? Why would he tell the truth? The headmaster ignored him. Just tell us what happened, he said to me. I was going to have to talk. I wished I could tell Ratchet to think about what he'd said to the headmaster, so that I didn't accidentally contradict his story. We are go one for the Eorn, and when we call me Biayak, Ratchet was me seeing. The bullies wanted me to lie, but I'd never promised I wouldn't tell on them about this. I was terrified by their mental threats, but for once the fact that no one could see my expression worked to my advantage. We found high M in the M, I gestured to the bullies. On the roof. How did you know to look there? More questions. Oh, how I loved answering questions. We looked very everywhere. The headmaster wasn't so sure about that answer, but thankfully, he decided not to press the issue. He nodded. Very well. Continue. I took in a deep vent. The held high over the edge of the roof, and Ray Ned to drop high I am. We did not. Verdict said. How could you think we'd do something like that? You're dead, Soundwave. They did, Ratchet said, memories flashing through his processor of the wind and the faraway ground. The headmaster believed us, but he wanted more evidence. Did any of you happen to record this? He looked at me. I know he's got an integrated recording device. Some of the others might too. If you still have that video, if you show it to him, I'll expose you. Verdict thought, glaring at me. I shook my helm. You didn't video it. I shook my helm again. I suppose it's understandable if he was panicked in the moment, but I wish he had the presence of mind too, oh well. He's not going to punish them, is he? Grey Charter, Ochre said. Are you really going to let this slide? You know it was them. They do this sort of thing all the time while you turn a blind optic. That youngling could have been offlined. She pointed at Ratchet. The headmaster turned to look at the bullies. This is true, he said. Motormaster, do you understand how serious this is? Putting someone's life in danger isn't a game. I wanted to see him fall, Motormaster shrugged. But I wouldn't have. They lock you up if you kill someone. I wouldn't have, it wasn't me. I didn't hold anyone over the edge of the roof. Great going, Motor, Jazz thought. There have been multiple accusations brought up against you. This was witnessed by 3 other students. Do not lie to me. I want to know once and for all if this is true. I need them to admit it. Or I will start doing a detailed search of your records and look for more evidence. If they don't admit to this, I'm not sure what to do. We haven't really been able to pin anything on them. No teachers ever actually caught them hurting any of the other students. That must be because of those devices Cable Reach told me about, but once again, we have no evidence of that either. He wouldn't even tell me which student had brought that information to him. The bullies looked at each other. Then Verdict nodded and addressed the headmaster. My creators will hear about it if you start trying to find excuses to expel me. The headmaster frowned. Did he just threaten me? Even if we had dangled someone off of a roof, which we didn't, we haven't hurt anyone. Actually, Ochre said, that student you dangled over the edge had substantial and painful injuries on his leg, and there was another who was barely conscious when Soundwave brought him in. It took a professional medic George to fix him. But you don't have proof it was us that did it. Jazz said. I really don't want to get expelled. I can't go back to public school. I think I'd die of boredom. No, we don't, but you did it, didn't you? But you did it. Ochre said. Jazz shook his helm. No, we didn't. You can't prove we did because it wasn't us. Then how did they sustain those injuries? Jazz shrugged. Beats me. But we do know it was you, the headmaster said. The bullies were all quiet. Unfortunately, they aren't going to admit it. And unless they admit it, I don't have real grounds. I could expel you for this, you know. Verdict met his gaze. If you expel me, my creators will shut your sad little school down. For what? Jazz asked. For dangling another student off the roof. And stop trying to tell me it wasn't you who injured them. I have eyewitnesses. Who could be lying, Jazz said. I would recommend that you stop talking, Jazz. If you push me too far. What do you mean you could expel them? Ochre asked. You have to expel them for this. They put another student's life in danger. But you can't prove we hurt anybody, Verdict said. That depends on what you mean by prove. I have plenty of proof if I decide to believe the other students involved. In any case, this argument is pointless. Silence fell. His creators donate generously to the school. We can't afford to lose their support. I'm sure if we had evidence, they would understand, but they're probably going to believe him over me. He can't kick us out. He wouldn't. Soundwave, I hope you know things aren't going to go well for you if we get expelled, Jazz thought. You might want to think about helping us out here. He has to expel them? This is absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe he's considering letting them go. He knows they did this. The chatter in the room was always louder when no one was talking. I need some time to make my decision, the headmaster said. Ratchet, you can go back to class. Verdict, Jazz, Motormaster, please wait outside my office. Ochre, you too. I still have a few questions for Soundwave. Not fair, Verdict thought. Soundwave, you know what will happen if you tell him anything. They left the room. There are some things, the headmaster said once they were gone, that don't add up in everyone's stories. I was wondering if you could tell me more about what happened. What happened when you went back for Searchlight? What did he say to them to convince them to let Searchlight go? Why did they take Ratchet up onto the roof in the first place, and how did the other two really know they were up there? I looked down. If I just invented a story, it probably wouldn't match up with everyone else's story. The headmaster would know I was lying. He already didn't trust me because of the whole cheating thing. If I said nothing, it would make me look guilty. If I gave him more evidence enough to expel the bullies, they would find a way to tell someone my secret. I couldn't let that happen. He was waiting for me to answer. Which question had he asked out loud? I had to check my memory files. He'd asked about when I went back for Searchlight. The hour go one by the time I got back to the roof, I lied. The headmaster sighed. I didn't actually see them who hurt say Searchlight. Of course, he said. And you didn't actually see them hurt Ratchet either, just angle him over the edge. I looked down. I know, the headmaster said. It was definitely them. I just need evidence. Is there anything? Any recordings, any details, anything you think might be helpful? Why were they after Searchlight and Ratchet in the first place? Say Searchlight's do up to them. That makes it sound like they've got a lot more power over the other students than I thought. You should have told a teacher if you knew your friend was being targeted by them. If something like that happens again, let me know and I'll try to make sure it doesn't go this far, alright. I'll speak to them and warn them there'll be consequences. I had told Cable Reach. And I had heard him thinking about it later. He passed on the information to the headmaster, who hadn't done anything about it. Telling a teacher had not been helpful. You can go. Send the others back in. I don't think I can expel them for this, but a 2-to-Karen suspension from school might be in order. That will at least make them consider. I stepped out into the waiting area outside the office. Ochre and the bullies looked up. You can go and no ow. They got up. If we're expelled, you're going to pay, Verdict thought. Just wait and see. I walked away, trying to get out of range as soon as possible. I wished I could turn back time and change things. I wished I'd had more time to think last off cycle. I should have just waited, just found another way to convince them to leave Searchlight on the roof. But it was too late for that. Now, they knew. I wasn't sure exactly what would happen if they told someone, but I didn't want to find out. Hey, Wave. Searchlight didn't look up from the datapad he was reading. Did we get any homework in history? I shook my helm and sat down at his desk. We have to do something about this. I'm worried. Soundwave, what if the bullies tell someone? They won't, I said, though I wasn't so sure about that. We need an ally. You have to have an adult on your side. No. Soundwave, if they tell the wrong mecha. There has to be at least one teacher you can trust. And it's not just that they might tell someone, what about tests? You can't hide it from everyone forever. What about finals? We take those all at one time, don't we? In one big room. I dealt law ASD form. Besides, telling someone else would make things worse, not better. I was done explaining my secret. Never again. I shouldn't have told Searchlight. I shouldn't have told anyone. Things had been awful before, but now they were worse. Didn't you say your base range is growing? I looked down. That was true. Mech. Searchlight said. It's fine, I said. We need an ally. I shook my helm again. Searchlight frowned. You're just hurting yourself. There has to be someone you can trust. You haven't outright said that there isn't one, so there must be one. Who is it? I shook my helm. I can't trust anyone. You trusted Ratchet and I show didn't have. Searchlight looked over at his roommate, who was sitting in his chair, studying for a test and half listening to the conversation. I guess it's true, he said. If you hadn't told us, then Verdict wouldn't know now. Ratchet looked up. A wave of guilt washed over him. I'm so sorry. I should have held out longer. Then I felt awful too, because it hadn't been his fault, not really. No, I said. I didn't mean that. You shouldn't tell anyone else, Ratchet said. The more mecha you tell, the higher the likelihood of it becoming public knowledge. You should probably go into hiding or something. Leave the school. Start over again. I didn't want to do that. That's a terrible idea. Ratchet, if he leaves the school, there'll be no consequences for the bullies if they tell someone about him. The only reason they haven't is because he's got information about them too. If he leaves the school, they won't have enough evidence to convince anyone of what he can do, Ratchet retorted. It would be safer for everyone. Maybe it would. But I'd have to explain to Crescent why I needed to change schools, and she would be absolutely furious, especially that someone with connections like Verdict's knew about me. She would be able to deter the bullies from exposing me, which would be helpful, but she would go after my friends too, blackmail them to make sure they kept quiet. And I didn't know what she'd do to me. She might not want to risk sending me to another school. Or she might send me to public school. Or somewhere else. She might just keep me locked up in her house until I was an adult and she could legally kick me out. I guess you're right, Searchlight said. Sorry, Soundwave. We kind of messed this up for you, didn't we? I shook my helm. I'm the one who told them. I said. I'm the one who told them, Ratchet said. There I frowned. I was not really comfortable with this idea, but I needed to tip the scales again. Cable Reach hadn't told the headmaster it was me who tipped him off about the bullies having teacher signal devices. He was careful about that sort of thing. We might be able to trust him. A teacher. They looked at me. I didn't want to admit the reality of the situation, but I had to face it eventually. My secret was out. If I did nothing and let Verdict act first, we can't probably trust. Probably. Okay, Searchlight said. Are you sure? I shook my helm. I wasn't sure at all. Adults were different. They saw things more clearly. Cable Reach would understand in ways that Searchlight and Ratchet couldn't. I knew so much more than I should. Passwords, lock codes, secrets. We need to be careful about this, Searchlight said. You're both right about that. But sometimes, you need to take a risk. Or you could leave the school, like Ratchet suggested. I shook my helm. That wouldn't work. I couldn't tell Crescent what I'd done. She'd be so mad. She'd get me back for it somehow. Whatever you decide to do, I'll back you up, Searchlight said. Ratchet huffed. I think telling anyone else is a terrible idea. It's bad enough that the bullies found out. What if this teacher you tell goes straight to the headmaster? I think Soundwave's probably a good judge of who would or wouldn't tell on him, Searchlight said. Hey, what's happening with the bullies anyway? Do you know? Maybe if they kick them out we won't have to worry about it anymore after all. They ought to kick them out. I think they why we getting suspended. Ratchet nodded. Good. Not expelled. Searchlight said. Scrap. They aren't going to stop, are they? They're just going to keep coming after us. How long were they suspended for? Ratchet asked. 2 hours. I bet if one of us dangled verdict off the roof, we'd get expelled. Searchlight said. Though it might be kind of worth it. Yeah, Ratchet smiled. But they're going to come back right in time for finals to start. After missing 2 decades of classes. That's something at least, Searchlight said. I nodded my agreement. But it was only a small victory, and we all knew it.